This is a real Minecraft world and I spawned inside the end portal. How did I end up here? I don't know, but I can show you how this was made possible. In today's video, I want to go over the process of finding a valid seed, inventing new strategies, and eventually beating the game without moving. Before we get into the seed finding, I want to explain the basic rules for this challenge. The first rule is, movement of any kind is just not allowed. This includes walking, getting pushed by mobs, and also every form of vertical movement like jumping or falling, for example. Second rule, the run has to be performed on a real seed within a single world. So up or downgrading it in any way is not allowed. The third and final rule is that every feature within the game is allowed to be used in the run. The only exception to this is the bonus chest because nobody likes it and it feels like cheating. Apart from that, it's allowed to use every glitch and even manipulate RNG to use its full potential. Without further ado, let's go to the first step, seed finding. When you want to beat the game without moving at all, you have to spawn inside the end portal on one of those 18 blocks. So there are a few problems to solve. In the past, people found seeds which let you spawn inside the stronghold or on top of the portal room. I had to find a way to open the portal room, because when you enter a world you will always spawn on the highest solid block. The portal room always generates with a ceiling and there's nothing you can do about it. Unless you find a structure or world feature which overrides the ceiling somehow. You might have seen similar things in your Minecraft world. The most common overlap of two structures happens when a temple and a village generate in the same place. Did you notice one thing? The temple is always intact and the village gets destroyed. Why isn't it the other way around? I quickly found the answer after looking into the game's code. There's a specific order in which structures generate in a chunk. The first structure which tries to generate is a mineshaft, but it's not really interesting because I assume that most of you have seen a seed where a mineshaft generated within a stronghold. After that, a village will try to generate, which is followed by the most important structure, the stronghold. Because of the order in which these structures generate, it's possible for a stronghold to override a village, but not the other way around. You may have never seen this happen before, but I searched for a seed in which you see that the portal room is still intact, but parts of the village are destroyed. If I want to open the portal room, I have to search for a different structure. What comes next in the generation process is the desert or jungle temple and the swarm hut. Code-wise, they are actually the same and only differ depending on the biome they spawn in. I even had some hope to find an open up portal room with one of those structures, because especially the desert temple generates with a lot of air. I searched for some interesting seeds, but as you can see, even with the highest portal rooms imaginable, the desert temple still destroys the portal frames. Even though I knew the jungle temple and the swarm hut can't open the portal room, I still managed to find some seeds which show some interesting interactions. These seeds are not really useful, but they are still worth showing in a video like this. Minecraft 1.8 doesn't have that many structures, but the next and arguably final useful structure may be able to open the portal room. There are some other structures like spawners, lakes, pools and the bonus chest, but they just can't open the portal room and they are just not really worth talking about. Anyway, the last structure is the ocean monument, which can override the stronghold. The Mr. Epic already made a video about a seed found by Minecraft at Home where all end portals got destroyed by ocean monuments, which made it impossible to beat the game. Interesting, but not what I was looking for. Instead, I only want to override the upper part of the portal room. After some testing, I found out that with the right conditions, it's possible to open the portal room if it generates within this rectangle. So I started coding and a day later I had my first open portal room. That was cool and definitely an achievement, but there were so many more challenges to come. First of all, I had to find a way to replace the lava inside the portal with other blocks, because if I spawned in the lava, I could just not reach the portal without moving. Opening the portal room is already difficult enough, and using a second structure seemed unviable or even impossible. Luckily, in some rare cases you can already find end portals with obsidian inside. But how is this possible? When the portal room generates, it doesn't generate in one piece and instead it uses something like chunks. If the portal generates at a chunk border and the water happens to be right next to the lava, it will turn into obsidian, and after that the rest of the portal room generates. Those so-called population chunks have their borders at the chunk coordinate 8 in X and Z direction. Monuments always spawn inside the ocean, and therefore it's pretty likely that there's some obsidian inside the end portal. Sometimes the ocean is not deep enough and therefore no lava will be turned into obsidian, but with the right tools it's possible to search for this. The next and definitely much harder step was to find a spawn point inside the portal room. After half an hour of searching, I found a seed which lets you see the open portal room from your spawn point. This is definitely cool, but getting close to the portal room is something completely different to getting into the portal room. Now it gets rather complicated, but I will try my very best to explain the Spawnpoint algorithm. When you generate a new Minecraft world, the game searches for a valid spawn biome within 256 blocks of the world's center. Here you can see all of those biomes. What do they have in common? Grass blocks. The game picks a random starting position in a valid biome and checks whether this position is a grass block. As you might have guessed, most of the time the game instantly finds one, and that's the reason why most, but not all of your spawn points are within 256 blocks of 00. In some rare cases, maybe a cave, trees or a gravel patch might have destroyed the grass. In this case, the game does the following algorithm. Pick two random numbers between 0 and 63, add and subtract them from your x coordinate and do the same thing for your z coordinate. Then the new coordinate is checked for a possible grass block. If it can't find one, it repeats this algorithm. Eventually you might end up with a search pattern which looks like this. What does that mean for our search? First of all, strongholds spawn rather far away from 00, which makes it even more unlikely that one of those dots is close to the portal room. In addition to that, finding a grass block within 11 blocks of a monument is quite rare, probably even impossible. So is there a chance where a spawn point could theoretically be inside the portal room? Yes, because the searching algorithm is not infinite and after 1000 tries it just stops. I think you know where this is going. What if I filtered for a seed which can't find a grass block in those 1000 tries, and with a lot of luck this last searching attempt happens to be directly at the portal room? That's exactly what I need, even though it's insanely rare that first of all the exactly 1000 spawning attempt is at the end portal, and in addition to that all the previous 999 attempts must have failed as well. After coding a basic script, I let my computer run for a few hours and I already got the first results. So I checked the seeds and here you have it. A seed which lets you spawn inside the end portal. I still have to smile while reading the script because it felt so unreal when I found it. I can't even put into words how incredibly this seed is. But only a few hours later, the euphoria was gone. I realized I have to beat a seed like this. I have a lot of knowledge about the game, but beating this seed was just not going to happen. So I decided to search for other seeds. The game implemented two ways how you can obtain an Eye of Ender in 1.8. Apart from the basic crafting recipe, you can also trade an Eye of Ender from a villager. Obviously I can't have a village inside the stronghold in this case, but luckily zombie villagers exist. As many of you might know, you can transform a zombie villager back into a normal villager if the zombie has the weakness effect and you give him a golden apple. Brewing a weakness potion is obviously not a smart option, but witches can also throw them. So this part of the equation is already solved, but how can I theoretically obtain a golden apple? Either I find it in a chest like a dungeon or stronghold, or I craft it. Golden apples can be found in mineshafts in newer versions, but unfortunately not in 1.8. Sadly, both of those chest scenarios seemed a bit too unlikely to seedfind for. The major problem is that the portal room has to generate in water for the lava to turn into obsidian, but all the other parts of the strongholds have to be inside the ground. So you need a pretty much perfect ocean floor for this to work. I mentioned that you can technically craft a golden apple. For this you need some wood, an apple and gold. As long as we have wood, gold won't be an issue, because with some iron from zombies you can build a nether portal, which also allows a pigman to spawn. Finding both an apple and wood accessible in one seed is also rather difficult because the blocks I can reach to destroy or interact with are super limited. A promising idea was the use of a storage room. They have wood and a chest with a 50% chance to contain an apple. Like the other stronghold chest idea, this was too rare to filter for. Eventually, I came up with the idea of using a forgotten feature, the bonus chest. It's likely that they contain wood, an apple, and it seemed like a viable option, but viable doesn't mean that I wanted to use it. Eventually, I even managed to find one of those seeds. All in all, the villager method seemed like a viable option, but finding a seed where this is possible would have taken way too long. If villager trading is not an option, what's the alternative? Crafting an Eye of Ender? You only need wood, kill zombies for iron, and at this point you are pretty much ready to enter the nether. You could obtain wood from a nearby mineshaft. For that I had to write a whole mineshaft simulation. This means you can just input the seed and the starting coordinates of a mineshaft and you get the coordinates of every room and corridor. By the way, you can download the code for this entire project on my GitHub account. The link can be found in the description. At first, this method of acquiring an Eye of Ender doesn't seem too difficult until you realize that the inner part of the end portal is only 3 blocks and the nether portal is 4 blocks wide. It would be kind of ridiculous to fit a 4-block nether portal into a 3-block gap, but let's say I found a way to make it work. Killing a blaze didn't seem too difficult, and that's why it was time to search for a valid seed. Let's say I totally underestimated the amount of computing power required to find a playable seed. The seed finding script took some hours to find a valid seed. Okay, maybe days. Oh no, actually weeks. Oh no, wait, actually months! I can't really put into words how long that took, even though the script was very optimized. We searched through around 100 quadrillion seeds and just one of them fit the criteria. Don't get me wrong, I found dozens of seeds which let you spawn inside the end portal, but only a single one was beatable for me. In the following chapter, I will show you how. Okay, how am I supposed to do this? No wood, guardians shooting at me, and the quest to beat the entire game. I think it can't get any worse than this. Okay, fair. Let's inspect the seed. There's not much to work with. A portal room floating in the ocean, but at least there is a mineshaft a few blocks below the end portal. Acquiring this prestigious wood seems like a big deal, because I don't even have a way to get a creeper into the portal room, for example, which might be useful to dig our way through the floor. To get rid of the mining fatigue, I toggled the difficulty to peaceful to despawn the Elder Guardians. To begin the run, I waited for a Guardian to fall into lava. For this I had to relog multiple times to have a form of invincibility. After obtaining a prismarine shard, I could dupe it and now I already have an infinite amount of solid blocks, which is better than nothing. My reach is very limited and gravel could be useful to interact with things which are further away. Enderman can pick up gravel, teleport into the portal room and place the gravel in a convenient spot. By killing the Enderman, I also obtained an ender pearl which is needed later in the run. While editing the video, I realized that you could get the gravel without the help of an Enderman. So this method obviously reduces the amount of luck required for this drastically. Anyway, back to the video. Digging through the water seems impossible and I can't just fill it up with gravel because there's no way to destroy it all. I mean, okay, technically I could have 100 Endermen teleport into this hole and pick up the gravel and leave again, but the RNG required for this is too ridiculous and it seemed a bit too boring. So I came up with something new. If I can't destroy the water, can't I just transform the water into stone? It may seem a bit counterintuitive, but stone is incredibly easy to mine if you use the right technique. Silverfish mining. I have an infinite amount of silverfish because of the spawner, and I can easily turn the water into stone with the lava below my feet. It took rather long, but eventually I managed to get a hole to the mineshaft. The mineshaft even generated with some floating gravel, so there was no enderman involved in this. After some waiting, a creeper walked onto the gravel and I was able to make a little staircase for him. To make sure that he can destroy some wood when he explodes, I had to remove 2 extra blocks. One of them was picked up by an enderman and the other one was destroyed by a silverfish. My plan was to get the creeper close to me, and right before he explodes I punch him down so that he destroys the wood. The issue was that even if I shielded myself from the explosion, I will still get knocked back. The same thing applies if I had invincibility. Eventually I figured out that if I leave the game in the perfect tick, I won't get knocked back. Now I had some wood laying around in the mineshaft, but I got a zombie to pick it up. I built a little staircase for the zombie, and a few minutes later I was able to kill the zombie, which conveniently dropped some iron. So I was finally able to craft some basic tools, which was definitely a big milestone. Another small but impactful thing was obtaining redstone from a witch. The witch just walked up the stairs and there was not much to talk about except the usage of the redstone. I finally managed to craft some pistons, and those were pretty useful to drain some parts of the portal room, which was required for the next few steps. At this point you might still be wondering, how am I going to enter the nether? The method which I want to use is the following. Destroy one of those portal frames, and if you fill in the last eye of ender into the frame next to it, the portal still lights up. The thing about developing new strategies is that once you solve a problem, you get 2 more. So how can I destroy this frame? After some research about bedrock breaking, I came up with the conclusion that only a so-called headless piston method could be viable for this. I didn't find a viable setup on YouTube, but I found one which heavily inspired my alternative design. I don't want to go into too much detail, but basically with an explosion next to an extended piston and a second piston, which you place at the spot where the first piston gets blown up, you can destroy the block below the piston. Getting the piston into the correct spot facing upwards was kind of difficult, but with the help of some other pistons I managed to do it. Instead of TNT, I can also use a creeper, but explosions in general are a major problem in this challenge. As you already know, even if the explosion happens behind a wall, you still get knocked back. Can't I just use this strat from the beginning where I leave the game in the perfect tick? Sadly no, because you can't leave the game and place a piston in the same tick. At this point I was a bit frustrated. Was this little mechanic seriously going to ruin the entire run? I tried out so many different things, and eventually, after days of searching, I found out that you don't get any knockback if you place a boat directly on your head. No, I didn't make that up. In the run, I used the fence and iron bars to perfectly align the boat with some water. After successfully removing the end portal frame, I duped some lava to build the nether portal. The nether part itself is not very spectacular in comparison to the rest of the run. There was a part of the fortress relatively close by, blazes spawned on top of it, and eventually one of them fell down. It wandered around a bit, and then I realized that a fishing rod could be pretty useful for this. So I went back to the overworld, killed a cave spider and crafted a fishing rod. After that I didn't have any issues with obtaining the blaze rod. Now I'm getting closer and closer to the end of the run. After crafting the Eye of Ender, the only thing that was left to do was killing the Ender Dragon. I'm about to show you an alternative end fight which I didn't do during the run. In 1.8, every time you enter the end island itself is the same, but the crystals vary in their height, width and quantity. It's even possible to get an end island with no crystals. So the dragon can't heal and charges you frequently. Therefore you can hit the dragon over and over again in peaceful mode and eventually the dragon is beaten. Now comes the reason why we can't do this in the no movement challenge. No matter what you do, the end fountain will always generate where you killed the dragon at Y level 64. This is just impossible to reach because you will always spawn on Y level 49. Technically, you can use an ender pearl to get to the fountain, but this feels very unsatisfying. So what can I do instead? What if I never killed the dragon and skipped the end fight completely? With the new discoveries, mainly from Myron Irio, this is actually possible. This strategy is called credit swap and is used in various glitch speedruns. The main problem is that these are performed in version 1.12. In 1.8, the mechanics are a lot different, but the main strategy looks similar. You enter the end 2 times. During the first enter, you have to place a redstone and a power source in a specific pattern. After that, you kill yourself to respawn in the overworld. Entering the end the second time is a lot more complicated because first of all, you have to restart your game and use the following Java arguments. When you re-enter the end, you need a pearl which hits the ground just a tick after entering. If you did everything correctly, you might get the credit swap. Myron has a very detailed explanation video on his channel, so in case you want to know more about it, you should check it out. Back to the run. Is the credit swap even possible in the no movement challenge? The problem is that you have to kill yourself after you entered the end for the first time. When you respawn in the overworld, you could just spawn at your initial starting point, right? Well, no, because the end portal is already lit. I would need to find a way to destroy or unlit the portal. Eventually, I rediscovered a strat on my own which is used in the so-called time travel speedrun category. Time traveling in Minecraft means that you can undo certain things from the past, for example lighting up the end portal. I figured out that you can do the following. Enter the end portal normally, pause for a second and then press Alt and F4. This causes the game to crash and not all the progress to get saved. When you restart the game and join into the world, you will be in the end but the overworld still looks unchanged. This means that the end portal is not lit up and you're in the end. Now you can place down the redstone, kill yourself and respawn in the overworld. Now it's actually possible to spawn at the initial starting coordinates and I managed to perfectly set up the end warp for later. All that's left to do after changing the Java arguments are the following steps. Throw a pearl, light up the portal at the perfect time. That's it, we're done. Or are we? Did you see that? For a frame the coordinates are shown on screen. I changed my coordinates because the pearl lands in a slightly different spot than you stand on. Is there anything I can do about it? Yes, I have to manipulate the RNG so that the pearl precisely lands in the correct spot. I managed to find a setup which involves an extra water above the player. This water is required for this whole trick to work. It's actually possible to land in the exact same spot you started on. And now, you're about to witness Minecraft history. The moment you have been waiting for. In a split of a second, the game is beaten, without me ever moving at all. Even though I did most of the work during this project, there were still some people who I'd like to thank for their contributions. Nia for contributing computing power in the seed finding process and also helping me to route the seed and write the script. I also want to thank Myron Irio for finding the credit swap, which made this whole challenge possible. Crafterdark for helping me with the credit swap in 1.8 and my brother for producing most of the background music. Thank you so much for watching. See ya.